with allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice turnout this evening. Thank you all for coming. This is the 7th day of April and our city council meeting. Call the quorum, please.
Fisher Brown? Here. Sparks? Wyatt? Here. Olson?
Here.
Mattawa?
Here.
Gambino?
Here.
Grant?
Here.
Thank you. Like to approve the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of March 17 and also approve the executive session minutes from March 17.
I'll second that.
Call, please.
Fisher Brown?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Mattawa?
Yes.
Gambino?
Yes.
Grant?
Aye.
On to accounts payable. Robert?
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we approve accounts payable as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call, please.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Mattawa?
Yes.
Gambino?
Yes.
Grant?
Aye.
Fisher Brown? Yes.
Item 5, under special orders. Interview, appoint applicants for city commissioners and committees. Let's see, who's number 1 on that? Understand Jerry Whiteman is withdrawn for health reasons, so we'll be considering one person on the budget committee, Linda Perez.
Come on up, yeah.
State your name and address and
Mayor, City Council members, my name is Linda Perez Salazar. I live at 1150 Morning Walk in Depoe Bay.
So why you want to be on the budget committee, giving up all that free time and such?
Well, since I've retired, I've done enough crafts and arts and picking up agates and reading, and now I'm ready to do something that where I would be more engaged in the community. And it seemed like an opportunity that fit my skill set.
Quite the resume.
were you in the finance world before?
The finance board.
World.
Oh, the finance world. No, but what I did do is I was the CEO of a large nonprofit that had a budget that ranged anywhere from 1.8 million to 2.5, and 48 staff and 25 master level interns. We had federal, state, and county contracts, and we managed money that came through a school district. So I was always developing budgets, implementing budgets, monitoring budgets, undergoing financial audits. Also, I served on a lot of nonprofit boards and was the treasurer of a credit union for many years. Went to Barcelona, Spain, and took an accelerated workshop in financial management for credit unions. So those are some of the things.
Sounds like you know your way around a dollar bill.
A few.
Okay. Other questions, please?
Mayor? So I understand from what you just said, that you had a budget. Did you participate in that budget and the allocations?
Oh yes, I was the primary grant writer for the nonprofit, so I worked with the CFO to develop budgets. I implemented budgets. I monitored the budgets. Presented budgets to school district and to government agencies. Is that what
No,
you're?
that answers my question, thank you.
Right.
All right.
Mindy, do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I have one more question there. So just a matter of information for me, what would be your goal for the city's budget?
The goal for the city budget would be to participate, to learn how the city, about the city budget and how it's managed, and to contribute to the best I can, and to, you know, it's been said about me that I'm a fair person and I'm a good listener and a problem solver, so that's what I would bring.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. You okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under the Parks Commission, we have Richard Salazar. I see you're down twice.
Yes,
What are you-
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Salazar didn't choose a position on his application, so you may want to ask him if he prefers position 4 or position 6. Otherwise, we could end up with a split vote or,
So, but it's still one or the other.
yeah, it has to be one of the other.
Okay. Please, sir.
Thank you. Richard Salazar, you just heard from my better half. I live at 1150 Morning Walk, Depot Bay, and we have call work in our home. And position 4 sounds like an option as far as where to enter. If you so.
Have you been in touch with some of our other park commission people?
I have. I've spoken extensively with Ken White, and done a little brush up on some of the information that he provided me. And I have some understanding of the park system.
Some other questions, please?
Richard, I have one question. I read your background and all that, and for your contributions to the commission, I see experience serving on a city parks and recreation commission. That doesn't mean in the past, but you mean.
No, I actually served a 4-year term in Santa Cruz County, California. That was a city that oversaw 34 parks, master plan development, and we brought a lot of changes and implemented a lot of great opportunities for 34 parks in a fairly large community that served a diverse group of people. So I have that 4 years experience as a Parks Commission.
Excellent. Thank you.
What do you see as some of the goals possibly for here in Depoe Bay, and how do you think you'd go about implementing them?
Well, I think first I would need to learn what the current board is doing and brush up on that. And I think I could provide some input that would perhaps fulfill the goals of the Parks Commission and the City Council, what we're doing here with our outdoor spaces. It's my impression that parks, recreation, the beaches, the ocean, everything around our community is geared towards healthy living, sending the right message, providing good opportunities for families, youth, to utilize these facilities and keep them healthy and available, and I think that could have some input towards that end.
Excellent.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, hey, Richard.
Hey there.
So, do you have any, I'm really, two questions simply is, what inspired you to step forward? Do you have an immediate, like a goal, that you want to bring to the parks?
Well, I have, here's what's happening. Parks and Recreation are a great gateway to youth and family. I didn't mention there, but I'm also a national board member on an organization called Guitars Not Gun Violence. This is a music program focused on foster children and at-risk youth, providing them guitar lessons at no cost. So I'm kind of, I've been with that for quite so many years. I'm hoping to bring that program here to Lincoln County. I'd like to start it here in Depoe Bay. This will be the very first chapter in Oregon. And if you look at the national website, you'll see that this is across the nation. So I'd like to, and again, this is youth-oriented, and Parks and Recreation has always been a great gateway to reaching youth and providing activities for them that help them and provide some proper direction.
It's awesome, thanks.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We have several young people that are involved with NFK over here, and they have many, many programs, and music is one of them. So have you talked to those people?
I certainly have. As a matter of fact, I hope to pilot the very first program here at Neighbors for Kids. Now,
Great.
again, this will be a win-win for all of us here because this is a national organization, well-established, well-known. Neighbors for Kids will be the classroom that we'll use. We'll reach out to foster kids and at-risk youth from CASA, Big Brothers Big Sisters, all of these other agencies. We'll partner with law enforcement. We'll work with city folks and help to build, an outlet for young people that are underserved. So yeah, I am familiar with NFK, and I happened to be there when they first opened the doors, and they were selling cookies to make it work. So I'll definitely be working with them, and then hope to move on and involve the entire county, and then hopefully the state. But speaking about parks, I'm jumping in, throwing the hat in to offer some input, hopefully make a difference that can keep our recreation facilities vibrant, robust, and healthy.
We have a stellar Parks Commission. They do an excellent job, and it sounds to me like you're going to be a welcome addition to that family. They are the reason why we have all these little, as he called them, pocket parks, and of course our large park. But the ideas that they have come up with over the years are just outstanding all the way, and that's why we have such a nice parks facility. So with that, if there's any other questions?
No, I'm just excited to have you work, especially with the kids and the parks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is position 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sure we go.
Thank you. Yeah, I could be in there for hours. Just
Jerome, are you not voting?
I didn't have, I'm going through my, I get the ballot.
Okay, the vote to appoint Linda Perez to the Budget Committee was unanimous. And the vote to appoint Richard Salazar to the Parks Commission position number 4 was also unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept both Linda and her husband Richard in their respective positions.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Call, please.
Olson,
Yes.
Madela,
Yes.
Gambino,
Yes.
Grant,
Aye.
Fisher Brown,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Nice to have you on board. All right, on to item B, Joshua. Depoe Bay Rural Fire Protection District Measure 21-157. Joshua Williams, Fire Chief. And what we have is proponents and opponents are encouraged to participate after you make your statement.
Mr. Mayor, before we start, Josh is not feeling well tonight, so he wanted to let everybody know that he's gonna do his piece, answer his questions, and he's not being rude, but he's gonna leave right after that.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time. I come here on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Depoe Bay Fire District. Really is information to inform you that the board has decided to go out for a measure. Again, it is measure 21-157. And this would be the first time in 23 years that the fire district has gone to the voters and asked for money. The fact of the matter is that times have changed and it is more difficult to recruit and retain volunteers. This area is not very plentiful in volunteers, and I do not have a way that I can give this district a predictable response. Day to day, I don't know who's going to be on the engine. I do know that I have one career person on the fire engine 24/7. But anybody in addition to that, I have no idea. I've gone from times where there's been nobody on the engine except that one person, up to times where we have 5 or 6 or 7 that respond now. We do have a fairly decent increase in our in-district volunteers. We have roughly 15 to 16 volunteers now. However, during the hours of 8 to 5, they're doing what most other folks are doing, and they're working. And so my pool of availability for responders is very, very small. And so the fire district has taken several measures to save money and to operate. For instance, the fire station, which is 38 years old here in Depoe Bay, we were recently awarded an $830,000 grant from the state to rehabilitate that building. That has certainly saved us from having to go to the voters to ask for a bond. Also, just want to explain the difference between a bond and a levy. The fire district is asking for a 5-year levy,
And that is the maximum amount that we can go out time-wise for operations, which means at the end of 5 years, in order to maintain that tax rate, we would go out to the voters once again. So I'm certainly not here to debate the merits of the tax increase. I know that taxes are a hot subject, but we are in the position that the district cannot operate anymore under a purely volunteer system. And so I'm not here to ask your support or to ask anything of you specifically, but wanted to give you the information so that you know where the fire district stands with what we're asking.
Personally, since I'm the mayor, I don't feel that I should go making statements for or against, mainly because it's influencing the vote, and so I'm going to remain silent on that. But anybody else that can or wants to may ask questions, and yes, or go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Well, I should come out of the gate stating that I am the daughter of a retired fire chief myself. My father was a career firefighter, and right now, in semi-retirement at the grand old age of 72, he is training officer for Southern Fire Department. And when he was the chief in Ketchikan, Alaska, this was a constant issue of keeping the fire department funded, keeping training up, keeping the facilities and the equipment in top shape. And the fact of the matter is that, as you probably know, over the years, we've seen volunteer firefighters numbers dwindling, not because they don't want to be there, but simply because the other interests of life, job and family and things like that, there's just so many ways you can split your time and still be a volunteer. So the spirit is there, the heart is willing, but sometimes the body is failing. Part of the issue is that we need to make sure that here in the Depoe Bay Fire District and outside districts, if necessary, because I know there's been some crossovers sometimes when there's something really bad going on. And, it's only been through the efforts of several departments working in concert with each other that they've been able to get on top of those things and take care of, saving as much property in life as possible. And so I have to say that I'm completely and totally in favor of this levy. Now, I'm not a property owner here in Depoe Bay, so, it wouldn't affect my tax burden at all, except, by derivation, I suppose.
Right.
However, I was, before I came here this evening, I was watching the nightly business report on OPB, and they're projecting that gas prices are going to stay low for at least the next year, because the per barrel price is probably going to stay around the $40 to $50 mark. And so that's, that we've already seen the benefit of that here locally and around the state. And so, I'm not saying that, hey, we can take the money that we're not spending on gas and use it for that. But I'm saying there is a bit of an offset there if people care to look at it. And the alternative to what you're asking is either having no fire coverage, no rescue, no EMS at all, or a subscription service, which a lot of people here in Oregon don't have a lot of experience with. My dad did when he was the fire chief in Ketchikan. What that means is a private fire department, and that you pay for a membership. And if you don't pay for a membership, if you choose not to, if you opt out of that, nobody's going to say anything to you. Maybe your homeowner's insurance would, but what that means is that the fire department might show up and save your neighbor's houses from getting, lit up by a spark, but they're not going to save yours because you're not a subscriber. A lot of people think that's really not appropriate, but unfortunately, those are the realities. And so, we have to have people there. This is a vital spot right between, two larger cities, but this is a vital spot. And when you're looking at a projected response time of under 5 minutes, that means you have to have paid staff. And so, you got my vote. I know what the realities are.
Josh,
Yes.
I guess we've known each other for what, 7 years?
Right, yeah.
Never a bad word between us, and, you know what, I've been asked by a lot of people just a couple simple questions. And you're here to let people know, so I'm gonna ask the question, don't read anything into it, it's just questions. Why union? That's been a big comment, why union, in our small town?
Right. I am not the right person to answer that question, because in December of 2013, I received an email stating that the career people that we have are going union, and the reasoning that I received from the career staff was, of course, this was during a period of time where Depoe Bay, Central Coast Fire, and the city of Newport were looking at some collaborative ventures, which would have been an operational and an administrative merger. Not a full merger, but basically on paper. And I believe, and have been told by my employees, that the reason that they chose to go union was in anticipation of that merger, knowing that the city of Newport was already union. However, things did not occur, and we did not go down that path, but the union path still remained. There is no employee administration issues at the fire district. We have a great relationship, frankly, with 3 employees. We have to maintain that. We are still a small fire district. So that is the reason that I've got from the union. I believe it. And so far, we've been unionized 2 years and haven't had any problems.
And the other question that's been asked repeatedly is, okay, there's union, that's fine, we're gonna do, what is it, $350,000 a year for each of the 5 years, right?
Roughly 700,000.
700,000, it's 3.5 million for the
For the
full.
total, yes.
And so what happens in 5 years if people reject another levy?
If
What
after
happens
5,
then, because you're union then, right?
correct.
And so you can't just drop a union.
Yes, we cannot drop the union, you are correct. What we can do is we will lay off those hired employees that were hired through the levy. The 3 current employees that we do have will remain and will remain unionized. And that's an expectation throughout the state, is that generally when you are hired on the levy in the state of Oregon as a firefighter, you know that you may only have work for 5 years. Well,
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Hi. I just got, I will declare that I am a property owner in the district. But and I'll say I don't have any problem with the union. And I've got some more or less apolitical questions here.
Sure.
Okay. And so, I noticed in the Lincoln County in general, that population between 2013 and 2014 has increased about, according to the U.S. Census, only a little over 100 people. And I'm wondering I don't know what the distribution of people settled, but what percentage of Lincoln County does do you know, does our fire district cover?
I can't give you the percentages, I don't know that. We cover roughly 12 square miles. That,
Do you know how many thousands of people?
yeah, as far as how many people we cover in the district, we're looking around 13 to 15,000
And is that 13 to 15,000 homes or people?
people.
Okay.
Yeah. We cover from the Siletz Bridge down to Otter Rock.
So that would be, according to my estimation, roughly a third of the county's population of registered voters. that is.
Right. Yeah, Lincoln City, of course, Newport, yeah.
And then, what's the increase that you're asking for in this levy? I mean,
We are
what is it
asking-
levied for?
Yeah, we're asking for 61 cents per thousand. So for example, if your home has a tax valuation of $200,000 and you're looking at $122 a month, a year.
Now, how many cents per thousand do we pay now?
We have an 83 cent per thousand rate, and that is permanent, and that has been permanent since the early 1990s.
So I'm gonna guess, looking at those two numbers, that what the department is at, what the district is asking for is pretty much around a 76% increase over what we're paying now. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how many paid firefighters do we have now?
3.
3. And how many are you proposing to hire with the levy?
6.
So I guess that begs the question, that have services in our district, so that would be a twofold increase over what we have now, right? And I guess I would ask, I guess I am going to ask, have services increased to the point now? Do they exceed the department's ability to meet the demand? And what, and year over year, like, is there a significant number of calls, that you go out on increased over, say, between 13 and 14?
Right. So for example, March of 2014, we ran 48 calls throughout the district. The same period of time this year, we ran 72 calls. Year to date, we are up roughly 12% since beginning January 1st, which is for us in the neighborhood of about 20 calls. Again, the difference being the increase in calls occur, but we don't have the commensurate increase in the volunteers. So we have the same amount of people, or less, or more, depending on the day, that are answering more alarms. And the caveat to this is there is nothing predictable about it. Whereas if we can hire the additional personnel, we can place 3 people on a fire engine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I can give them a predictable response, which is what we cannot do currently.
Excuse me, I'm not done yet.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
So, my question remains about, has the demand for services exceeded the department's ability to meet that demand?
Yes, and I can't say that demand exceeds every time, and that's a root of the problem, where we may have a call where we can generate 6, 7, 8 people. Then the next call, we may generate nobody.
So has
So
there been a call that you've missed?
We have never missed a call. We have had calls where we've only had 1 person on the fire engine that has responded.
So, I'm hearing about, from you, that a 12% increase in calls year to date over last year, in 2015. And that the department, or the district is asking for basically what would be a 70+% increase in funding over last year, and that we're asking for a 200% increase in personnel in paid firefighters. Is that, do I have those facts correct?
Sure.
For what would be a 12% year-to-date increase?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
So, if the levy passes and you're able to hire these additional firefighters, they would be on shift at the fire department on a rotating basis?
Yes, there'll be 3 per shift. Right now, we run a 48-96, which is 2 on, 4 off, and they're based at the Depoe Bay Station.
Okay. And I think it's also important to note that, while these paid people are on shift at the station, they're not just sitting there watching TV. And
Correct.
So.
What you see on TV is not correct.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Yes.
But however, for the rest of the city council and the audience that may not be aware, can you give an idea of what they are actually doing when they're not responding to
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
emergency?
Throughout the day, there is, each of my officers has an assigned auxiliary duty, such as CERT or mapping or hydrants. So they are, when they're not treating or going on calls, they're working on those duties. We are in a constant cycle of training new people. So there's often times where the engines are out, whether they're here in town or up in Glen Eden Beach. They spend a majority of their time training, house duties and the ancillary duties such as we have a very active CERT coordinator here within the entire district. And one of my lieutenants who is on shift is in charge of that program. He works on grants, on different funding mechanisms, location, works with the city, works with various organizations throughout the entire district.
Go ahead, Robert.
So you're going to continue with your volunteer program when you have your full staff?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so how do you go about getting the volunteers to stay? Are you gonna pick from that pool to hire, or I guess that's really not a...
Yeah, I've been asked that question, and you know, our volunteers will certainly be allowed to and free to apply for, and that would, for me and the district, that's a nice bonus, having somebody that has been vetted through the system that we know and trust and knows the area. However, at the end of the day, we will hire the most appropriate, well qualified people for the job.
Go ahead, Robert.
Josh, I know this is pretty much a mechanical question about the fire district, but I've always been curious about it, because I know this adds up to what costs money. Calls that are like medical calls in a home, why must an engine well, you can tell me, what has to respond, and is it a law? Is that why you guys do this?
Yeah. There is no law. Really, the big regulation that we must follow is called what's known as a 2 in, 2 out rule, which states that if your home is on fire, the city hall's on fire, no matter what it is, whatever building's on fire, we cannot enter that building until we've assembled 4 people on scene. So of course, that's how we deal with fires. Now, I will also tell you that fires are going down both locally and nationally, and have for 20 to 30 years. So the trend for fires is down. The trend for rescues, medical aids, car accidents is up. There are 5 ambulances in this county. And the area that we have is served under PAC West, Pacific West Ambulance. They cover the area from Newport up to Lincoln City and east towards Toledo. And the reason that we have a fire engine going to those to medical calls is oftentimes we are the first ones there. All the firefighters that we have on duty are medically trained. Additionally, there's often a need for multiple people to do multiple things on scene, such as carrying somebody out, performing CPR, or just navigating downstairs. So that's why you see a multiple response.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more question. And I know you said that you're rolling the engine with sometimes just one person on board.
Yes.
Is that is not an optimal situation? Am I correct?
You are correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not only the fire chief. You remember that old commercial with the hair clipper men? Well, I'm not only the fire chief, but I've also been a recipient of our services. And the last thing a fire chief wants to do is call his own fire engine to come. Luckily, on that day, I had 3 people on that engine to come help me. What I don't want is citizens in this area to have one person show up. And it's not because of poor management. It's not because people don't want to be volunteers, as you indicated. It's because times have changed, and we can no longer rely on the pure volunteer. The pure volunteer system that we used to have is gone. And fire districts are finally starting to recognize that. The last thing that we want to do is come to the voters and ask for money. But after 23 years, something's got to give. And that's why we're doing what we are doing. We are letting the citizens make this decision for us.
Kathy?
I just want to thank you for your services, Josh.
Thank you.
What,
Does anybody have questions?
Do we, go ahead, Drew.
oh, thank you, Josh. And thank you for your ability to answer questions forthrightly. And I just wanted to say one thing is that as far as property owners, non-property owners, everybody pays the tax that lives in the district, whether they're renting or whether they own the property indirectly. So, I mean, everybody's on an even foot there. And
Absolutely.
so, and that's all, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I could add one thing, a couple of things that the district does do is we do bill for car accidents. There are certain things that we try to recoup some of the funds that we use, especially in an area like this where we have a lot of transient people up to the highway. If you are a property owner in Depoe Bay and you get into an accident, you do not get a bill. If you're from Idaho visiting and you crash your car, then you receive a bill from the fire district. And that is just trying to recoup some of the cost that has been expended on that wreck that the people of the district have paid for.
And insurance pays that.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, do we have any questions from the citizens? And, anybody have any input, any questions?
The whole.
Okay, we're finished up there. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Off the record, Josh,
Yes.
I'm not gonna hold it against you that you're gonna leave, just so long as I'm gonna borrow that excuse.
It's all yours. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. All right. Reports of officers, boards, and standing committees. We'll start with the Parks Commission recommendations. Bill? You the guy?
I'm the guy.
You the man?
May not be quite as technical as just what just passed. Bill Spores, Chairman of the Parks Commission. To hurry things up here, I'm going to read this more than just quote you. If you look at your handouts, I think you have a picture there of a sign that we are, historical sign. Oh, I need to skip here. We are, the stone signs we are putting off for 2 weeks if we can. And just talk about the historical sign tonight. Okay? And I think you have a picture of the historical sign that we, yes, that one. And behind it, we will have a picture of the site that we selected where we propose putting the sign.
Yeah, it's good news.
And it's directly across, as you can tell, I think, directly across the street from the Coast Guard station on that strip, green strip. Does everyone have that picture?
South of the Gameway.
Yes. Yep. And due to uncertain time schedules for the Parks Commission, as you know, volunteers are put upon somewhat, and we don't get everything done right on time. So we've been about a year and a half putting all this together, the pictures, the sign itself, and the estimates. So it's taken us a year and a half to kind of get this done. Fortunately, we weren't waiting for an ambulance at the time. And most of this work has been done by Ken White, and Perry Murray, and Jackie McKim, and Jim Hayes of gathering this information and gathering our estimates. And we're finally ready to request from you the $2,299, the estimate to put the sign in place, to make the sign and put it in place from Newport Sign Company. It looks like at this point, I talked to him today and it said that we should be able to have it by the middle, in place by the middle to us at least, by the middle of May. So at this point, I would like to request any questions and $2,299 to sign.
It's similar to the signs that we have on the park trail, the very large information outdoor sign with the high dense poly and acrylic that make up the sign, so it's very weatherproof, and it's kind of a spendy procedure, but Newport Sign does a pretty good job, and they work with other municipalities throughout the county, and just a little bit of input that the price is up there because of the fact that the quality of the product is really, really good.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve expenditure of 2,000, I guess we'd say $300 for the purchase and positioning of the parks, or excuse me, the Hardwick Historical Sign.
I have a question. My paper here only says $14.89. Am I missing something?
Yeah, me too.
Mine too.
Yeah,
You're missing about 5%.
yeah, we're missing a couple
I'm not
hundred
sure
dollars.
what, yeah. I'm not sure which one. I
You
did
get
not
this
get
from
a copy.
Newport, you get this from Newport Sign?
Our sign from Newport Sign is 2,000.
You got $14.89, and then you have Jack and Kim's invoice for $2.10.
From Newport Sign is $2,089. So I'm not sure which.
We must be looking at a different iteration.
So,
Robert has a
No,
different,
it's the same.
There were,
But I'm missing one
I've been
page.
monitoring Curry's mail while she's gone, and we received multiple,
Price quote.
we received multiple quotes that look the same as this one in your packet, and they're all with today's date. So I'm just gonna guess that perhaps what's in your packet isn't the same one that Bill's talking about.
I never saw the packet, so.
This
Yeah,
one here is
they've
dated
been-
4/6.
They've been gathering price, quote, information from Newport Sign for Curry and I.
Mhm.
And the fella there was emailing us and getting prices, because he had to get prices from Halco, the steel manufacturing, all the players, and so he kept coming back with different prices. And it's not Ken that runs it, it's one of his employees. He's doing a pretty good job, but he was a bit confusing in sending us email and price quotes. So that's what kind of we're dealing with on this. And maybe that's what Bill has, an earlier version of it.
I have the final version.
Yeah, the one we have is dated 4/6.
Excuse me.
The one we have here, at least on my packet, is dated 4/6, which was yesterday.
yesterday, yeah.
But there was two signs, there was a larger and a smaller.
Yeah, there's a smaller sign that we,
What's this?
the sign that you're, the sign that you're looking at, or that we are requesting is 42 inches by 28 inches
Yeah,
by a quarter of an inch.
it says smallest harbor sign on there too.
But we have the estimate for
The
the
42 by 28, and then it's 1,489. That's the current price, so.
We had to sign the price for a smaller sign that we decided was not gonna be able to be seen or read. So that's why we went to the 42 by 28.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
That is what the, where we are
So-
for.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Bill, is this what the sign is gonna look
Yes,
like?
it
Okay,
is.
so it's a single sign and it tells a story with each plate,
Correct.
okay?
After many reworkings.
Okay, so it's not multiple signs that go down the length of the harbor wall, but it's one sign that tells the story.
40, right.
Okay.
So you're standing in front of the Coast Guard, looking towards the bridge, and it's describing what's around you, what's happening.
Have we decided on the height of the sign?
42 inches. Oh,
I mean, from the ground yet, has that been decided?
It's gonna be like the nature trail where it's kinda Yeah, it's not flat looking at it, it's kind of at an angle, like, just kind of like the kiosk sign, the information signs on the park trail.
No blockage from the Coast Guard side.
Yeah,
I just think that, just a comment, I just think that these kind of signs and this quality, people love reading history,
Yes, it-
okay? And I just really think that this is gonna be a real popular idea.
Me too.
me too.
Let me add one more thing. This final here, but we hope to do some other signs along the way to tell some other stories that you're going, either along the harbor front or along the seawall. So this is a start, and of course, each one will be submitted to you to decide. The work, enormous amount of work went into figuring out what this should say and not drive people away completely by having too much there.
So the price you think will stay at the 2,000 and change?
2,300.
2,300?
So you got a motion?
Yeah, he's got a motion.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, we got a second, let's call the question.
Okay, call please.
Manola,
Yes.
Gambino,
Yes.
Grant,
Aye.
Fisher Brown,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Nice work. You guys.
And welcome to Mr. Salazar to our Parks Board. So this will be a nice addition.
Thank you. Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Steve asked us to push,
Pardon me?
Steve asked us to push that and he's not here, so let's push it.
Okay. Steve Sparks is absent this evening, so he asked if we would, in his behalf, push on this Lincoln County Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. Go ahead.
No, he just wants us to put it off, that's all.
Oh, he wants to put it off?
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it because
Oh.
he didn't attend the meeting and he didn't have any
Oh, I
information.
misunderstood you.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
All right, we'll set that ahead then.
He did. Did you say he didn't attend the meeting?
The way he talked today, did
Yes, he
he?
did.
Did he?
We have a minute on here.
No. I don't know, he, when I was talking to him, Dave said,
No, he
he
attended.
doesn't want to talk about it, he would prefer we don't talk about this tonight, because he's not here.
It's in our packet. Oh, yeah, it's in
All right, well, if that's okay with everybody, we'll set it ahead. Public comments? No? Okay. Move on to unfinished business. We're gonna schedule a joint meeting, City Council, Harbor Commission, and Harbor Master Plan Advisory Committee. And that will be for the 13th of this month coming. We just have these,
5:30?
5:30.
oh, we changed that
Next Monday,
again.
the 13th.
No, that was it 5 or 5:30?
It was
It's 5:30.
5, and now it's 5:30.
5:30.
Food at 5:30.
Food at 5:30,
meeting at 6.
meeting at 6. There's free food if you want to come to this.
Where's that?
It's at the community center.
Oh, boy.
What day of the week is that?
Mr. Mayor?
It's on Monday.
Yes.
So, in unfinished business, it says schedule the joint meeting. It sounds to me like discussions have been made outside of council that have already scheduled that meeting.
It's been on track since we started the project.
I'd like to see the record, Mr. President.
Okay, we'll make that available to you.
I've been here every meeting since January 1st. I'm not aware that we scheduled this joint meeting.
It was done yesterday, and that was,
But it was done before that, too.
Was that at a meeting of the council? 'Cause
No, that was
this-
at the meeting of the advisory.
I don't mean to get into the minutia of this, but it says, on my agenda, it says schedule the joint meeting. So are we proposing this, a schedule for the joint meeting, or has it already been done?
well, the meeting yesterday, Mr. Grant, was to have the people that were representing the Harbor Commission and the Advisory Committee and members of the City Council to schedule that for the 13th as we're talking now. And that's when we're hoping to have all the members from the Harbor Commission, all the members from the advisory and the council to meet and have sandwiches or pizza or whatever it's gonna be, and discuss this
Mr. Mayor, my question is, so was there a council meeting yesterday? Did we have a quorum? Okay.
No, we did not establish a quorum.
Okay, I'm getting that impression.
It
So,
was advised, all the stuff was advised for this meeting tonight to schedule a joint meeting, or the time and all the ideas and everything were like advised at this short meeting, if that makes sense. And then that's why it's on the agenda, to schedule a joint meeting, because it all came together. It was from the humpbacks, right, from the humpbacks and from the Harbor Commission. But I think that makes a little more sense. I think it's just.
I get it,
I
it's just the way
understand your point.
The way it's written there.
because I would like to be able to attend the meeting, okay?
Right.
And I've voiced my opinion on this before as a member of the Harbor Master Plan Committee.
Right.
That 5:30 is not a good time for me, okay? Because it still intersects with my business day. I couldn't help but notice that all the other people in the room were either retired or work for the city. Well, I do a real job. And so, I would, are you on the Harbor Master Plan Committee?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. All right. And so, if we could schedule that, because I'm looking at, it said, I thought it was up for discussion. I didn't know it had already been decided outside of council chambers. But I would like to propose that we schedule that for 6 or 6:30, not 5:30.
Do we have the yesterday's agenda? Do we have a copy of that?
There was no agenda because it wasn't a public meeting. So there was no published agenda anywhere. My understanding, not having been involved with it, is that these two meetings that were held since the last council meeting.
Somewhere
Three
in
meetings to establish an agenda for the April 13th meeting. That's my understanding.
somewhere in our paperwork, we have that. In the scheduling, we have that it was yesterday was, and an email was supposed to have gone out to that effect.
I'm sorry, I must not be on the list, Mr. Mayor. And I will say that also, how many council people were present yesterday?
Two of us.
Okay.
And then when that thing was first set up, it was hopefully to have two people from the council, two from Harbor Commission, and two from the advisory.
If I could direct you to page 5 in your minutes from the last meeting, is where the whole discussion on setting this up happened. And it,
I don't think there were any times mentioned in those
no,
minutes.
there were not.
Okay. So, again, go to unfinished business, as we say here, schedule a joint meeting. And, I mean, I will live with it, but what I'm saying is simply, it sounds to me like on the agenda that it's up for discussion, not that it had already been decided.
We discussed at length, did we not, Brady, about the different times and
Yeah.
what would be the best.
That's why, 6 o'clock work, but they thought that if they had food, that it was just brought up as discussion. Nothing was, in my opinion, it was all like an advice to take notes and then bring it to this meeting and then set up the time. That's why it says that it needs to be scheduled.
So let's
all
set
the
the time
ideas
at 6
were brought
o'clock
up.
so Jerome can make it. Let's just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a problem. We'll just schedule it for 6. We'll start at 6. Is that okay, Mr. Grant?
That's what it says, scheduled.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if we need
We're
an
not
action
trying to
item
exclude
and
you,
to
Jerome.
vote on this, then that's fine, but,
Yeah,
We'll just make notice for
Well,
6.
yesterday, okay, I'll just make this to you, Jerome. Yesterday, that, meeting took place at 6 o'clock here. And that's within your perimeters. And I really expected that you would be here to be a part of the council,
I didn't get the notice, Mayor. I did not get the notice.
that was directed to be sent out.
I didn't get it either, Mr. Mayor. Did you get it?
Not as far as I know, I haven't checked my email today though, so.
You didn't get one
I
either?
did not, sir.
You did?
I did not.
Oh. Okay, then
Well, we're,
somehow it just got skipped over. I don't know how that happened. We do have, one person that's on vacation right now, and maybe that was the reason that it was overlooked. But I'm certain that it was not done to, slide anyone.
Well, I haven't accused of anybody, or I don't think in my own mind that it was meant to slide anyone.
Well, that's, okay, it was a mistake.
Mistakes happen.
All right.
I just wanted some input on, I want to be able to be at the meeting, okay? And it says schedule a joint meeting. And I was getting the impression from you and the president of the council, it had already been scheduled.
Okay.
And so if we can, if we're going to schedule the meeting, I move that we schedule the meeting at 6 o'clock
On what date?
on April 13th.
On the 13th.
At the community hall.
And that was, all right,
and I'll second that.
all right. Call that, please.
Gambino?
Yes.
Grant?
Aye.
Fisher Brown?
Yes,
Wyatt?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Matala?
That just means I get to eat a little later, but yes.
So it's gonna be the food at 6 and the meeting at 6:30?
Well,
Or are we gonna do
the
it all
way,
together?
the way it was discussed yesterday was the food was gonna be there at 5:30, and the meeting was gonna start at 6. That's the way it came out.
So let's just have food at 6 and start the meeting at 6:30.
So bad, we just voted on it, so that's it.
That's not what we voted on. We voted on starting the meeting at 6, not at 6:30.
Well, I guess we'll have to eat and have the meeting at the same time.
It's been done before, Mr. Mayor. So, I mean, do you want me to withdraw my motion and reschedule the meeting at 6:30? Or what are we gonna do here?
We already voted on it.
This is really a lot simpler than you think.
There's one simple way to do it. Mr. Mayor, I move that we make the meeting to work for Mr. Grant and request the time that be.
No, that's not.
No, that's not right.
That's unacceptable.
Listen, let's just get together at 6 and we'll eat and we'll work the meeting at the same time. Let's just do it. This is, we're dragging on. This is nonsense.
I'll take exception at that.
It's not.
So doing things decently and in order is nonsense? Is that what you're saying,
No,
Mr. President?
we're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think that we need to redo this again, and it's not directed to benefit Mr. Grant, it's to benefit all of us in the proper way of voting and having. Yes.
Go ahead.
I was simply trying to be cohesive because we already did that, we voted, and it wasn't correct. So that's why it would solve the problem and make it go a lot quicker if we ask Mr. Grant what works.
Well,
It's not about Mr. Grant.
Well, he's the only one that can't, that had, okay, all right,
Please.
okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I only said something after the motion was passed, because again, the discussion was made that the meeting was gonna start at 6:30, and then we were gonna eat between 6 and 6:30. So, you know, I simply, I don't need to eat between 6 and 6:30, so if the meeting is going to be at 6:30, I'll show up at 6:30. If the meeting is gonna start at 6, I'll show up at 6.
well, we already voted for 6, so that's what it is.
Okay?
Okay, thank you. Anybody, any other discussion on that matter?
So just to be clear for me, I'm sorry, the meeting actually starts at 6? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, 6 o'clock on the 13th. On to item B, legal, or city legal services agreement. We have an agreement with our new council. Thank you. And I think everybody's got it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we enter into an agreement with Dave Gordon and the name of the law firm, Dave?
Outer and Hall.
Alderkirk and Holland, as described in the document set forth.
Second.
We have a second?
Yes.
Made and seconded. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
I read the thing, and it all sounds great, and this is probably educational for me. Why does it say scope of work exclusions? Services specifically excluded are providing legal service to citizens, bond counsel, tort claim defense.
Because that's covered by your insurance company, CIS. And it doesn't have to be excluded, except that that's why you have the insurance, is for them to cover it. And that's what they do exclusively, so they're good at what they do, they're a good company. I mean, I do tort defense, but if it's covered by your insurance, why wouldn't you have them do it?
Right. Good, thank you.
And Dave, I noticed that in the document that you're not charging any staff time. Does that mean you're gonna do all the work, or?
No.
I mean, you have backup staff, I know that.
I will be doing the work, the legal work, and the staff that I have, which incidentally includes 2 very capable legal assistants who have been in the business for a long, long time, and so they're very capable people, and they do help me out a lot. For other clients, we actually do charge their time in certain cases, but not 100%. And I've worked in law firms where it's been 100%. All of their time is charged, but not in our law office. So what they do in support of the city's legal work will not be charged separately from my hourly rate. If there are specialists that need to be employed, I wouldn't employ them without consulting with the council or whoever it is that I'm designated to talk with about it, which would be experts like a surveyor or an accountant or whatever, whoever it might be. But for our internal staff, there's not going to be any additional charge.
And do you bill those third-party contractors marked up, or just pass them through?
Just pass them through. And in fact, might even have them send the bill directly to the city.
Any more discussion? Call the question, please.
Grant?
Aye.
Fisher Brown?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Matala?
Yes.
Vino,
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to working with you.
Likewise.
Congratulations, sir.
I take that. I'll take that. That's good. I appreciate that.
On to item C, credit card fees, harbor fueling, vote. Harbor fueling vote, was that supposed to?
It's a typo, it's probably gasoline, probably both, fueling both.
So we're just talking about credit card fees and harbor fueling. And vote was
Yeah,
just an added.
fueling boats, and I think that was put in there just because,
Okay,
to make sure that it was the vessels.
right. Jerome, you asked this to be put on the agenda. Would you like to start on that?
Sure, I'm looking at, I don't know, Prairie or whoever, does everybody see this?
Yeah.
This little spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can see just what the credit card fees are costing the city. And so I don't have my, we're looking at the fees for 2014 as being $10,420 for the year 2014. And that's substantial. And I guess I would make the case that the city recoup those fees, okay? Right now, we're charging the same for fuel as we, with a credit card or cash. So I guess I would want to put it up for discussion, whether we add a surcharge or give a cash discount, okay? The surcharge would allow us to recoup those fees on top of what we're charging for fuel now. We wouldn't have to raise the cash price of fuel. The cash discount, I guess I would propose raising the price of fuel to equivocate the percentage of credit card fees, probably around 3.5%, and then giving a cash discount based upon the new price. And that way the city could recoup over $10,000 in fees. And in my opinion, not sell 1 gallon, this is my opinion now, 1 gallon less of fuel. I would, during my discussions and tenure as the chair of the Harbor Commission, and this issue came up, it was a rather vocal group, but the consensus of the fishermen that were there, that were buying the fuel, is that they would, given this choice, they want the cheaper fuel, and that they would be willing to pay cash, okay? They'd just cut a check rather than charge. So that's, I would like to see the council move on this, one way or another. It would just recoup us $10,000. That would help neutralize what we're paying into the harbor. And for fuel, the cost of delivering fuel.
Jerome, did you have a chance to look at our former council's emails, Ross? Did you look at all this? There's, it's about 2 pages long, double-sided letters. I don't know if you saw this or not. Here, first of all, I need to ask a question of staff. Do we take Amex?
Didn't we ask this before? I'm not sure if we take American Express
I
or
know
not.
we used to take American Express. I haven't seen any come through recently in the paperwork that I see, but I have not heard any
Okay.
discussion about not taking those cards anymore. I believe we do.
Okay, because if you go to page 3, And he's talking about the surcharges, cash discounts or whatever. I'm sorry. What's that?
We can't discuss that.
We can't?
No.
Oh, you're right. Well, the point though is that in this memo, it goes on to say that, we may not be able to surcharge. If we get into surcharging, we can get into difficulties with the credit card companies. And that, if you were to take the same price and then, discount it for cash, we end up with the same amount of money we would have had if we used the credit cards. So in this letter, from Ross, he suggests that maybe the simpler way to deal with this and not get in sideways.
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe we're allowed to discuss this confidential client attorney.
Well, then we need to have an executive session on this because this clearly identifies that this may not be a good tactic.
Well, I would assume we all read it, but my point is, this is not something we can discuss.
Fair enough, but if we're gonna make a decision that's revenue neutral, why are we making that decision?
I can't answer that one. I can simply say, I don't believe we should be disclosing any information
All
from
right,
that
then
confidential.
maybe we need to push this to an executive session because this particular document I'm reading off of, although it is confidential information, it's common business sense and,
Oh, I agree.
I've had a credit card machine for years. I'm not finished yet, Judge.
Go around.
I'm not done yet. I wasn't done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I'm just saying that, I agree with Jerome. I don't want us to eat that 10 grand. I get it in spades. But the lawyer has identified that tack as maybe not the best tack to take. It's right here.
Read the
So,
letters.
it's an email.
I mean,
Well,
I
that's
got
what
it.
I mean.
You got it. So how do we, how do we discuss this if we can't discuss this in public?
Well, we have our new council present. Sir, would you clarify this for us?
I haven't seen that document. If you want to show it.
I'm not trying to
happy
be a
look
stick in
at
the
it.
mud, Joe.
I'm not implying that at all.
Okay.
I would say, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
President Olson, if necessary, we can carry this on to executive session.
And Robert, you guys are absolutely right. I'm sorry.
I would just say that, and I would leave it, I think it would behoove us to leave it to council to look at the agreement that we do have with the processor.
Yes.
And then we can make a decision in executive session on this item.
Well, we can't make
Or
a
not a
decision, we can discuss
but we
it.
can
and then
discuss
bring
it,
out,
yeah, and bring it to
Okay.
public council.
You're going to need to schedule an executive session if that's where you want to talk about it.
Yes.
Because it's not on the agenda tonight.
So we'll
Mr.
schedule
Mayor.
for the next meeting.
Yes.
I would like to move that we schedule an executive session prior to the next city council meeting in order to discuss this issue.
Very good.
Second.
Any more discussion on that? Call, please.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Matala,
Yes.
Gambino,
Yes.
Grant.
Aye.
I'd like to direct staff if we can pass these set of documents to Mr. Gordon so he can review it for us.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I noticed that in the documents, there's still some questions that remain, so that if we could direct council to look at our current contract with the processor.
Right. Maybe our staff can just bring that documentation to us. All right?
I mean, there's,
Scan and email it to me. You're talking about the contracts.
Well, actually, when I'm sending you this email, this thread of an email, but also the contract
Yes.
for the credit card that we accept, just like.
because there's some
Ron said.
question in this document, what's there.
What's allowed in that, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Because each contract is, could be, that can be different.
You know, because I personally, I know about you, when I was running the restaurant, we looked at that too, and our processor, it was disallowed to add a surcharge, it was like a no-no. So we looked at it for ourselves. Okay.
So I just want to be clear that you want the document, the email that you were just discussing, as well as the credit card contract with the bank to go to Mr. Gordon for his review.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
That does good. Does that, I mean, you are counsel, but the confidentiality of the emails we got, is that broken if we give it to new counsel?
No.
No? Okay.
But, and there is a practice that we may talk about, and I have no problem with the distribution of documents labeled confidential to city councilors, because you're the ones that are making the decisions. It has been practiced in other places I've represented where those confidential documents come back, you know, upon, you know, conclusion of the discussion, so that they're just not out there in the
So they can
universe.
be disposed of.
So that they remain confidential.
Right.
Okay.
So being an officer of the court, then you have license on that?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
You have a
so,
big
Well, and I
treasure.
represent the city, and so the,
okay, so,
and so anything that your prior council has done that, well, all of their work product, in fact, I got a box of files from Eugene that is the attorney-client work product for you guys. And I have the same obligations with respect to that they do. And so they can't disclose that, even though they no longer represent the city, and I can't disclose it, except in the course of doing the work for the city.
so you can set us on the right track now, and we can get this thing figured out.
That certainly is the hope.
Okay, great. Is that all right with everybody? Okay.
Just one comment. If we did want to tighten up security, keep it out of the electronic space, we could just provide our attorney with a hard copy of this and a hard copy or fax copy of our current agreement if it came through well enough. And, you know, because things tend to get copied in cyberspace, and so that would be a way to tighten it up. I'm just saying, I'm just presenting that as a way to, tighten that up. But that being said, it's the way we work. So I wouldn't object to doing it through cyberspace either.
15 years ago, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Correct.
Gotta move with the times.
Okay. New business. We have a bid award ready.
Yeah, for the bus barn workout here, I called to talk to local contractors in our area, and a lot of them are really busy right now. And I got two to give us proposals. I actually talked to like 5 or 6, and sent out 4 sets of plans. But anyway, I got 2 back. The one from Hammer and Nail seems to be our best bet. They were told the same thing. You know, we need to get all the material. The Hammer and Nail got a quote with the specs from Fairfield Design that did the building design. Those plans went to the lumberyard and came up with the price quote for all the material. Now this Hammer and Nail one actually includes roofing, which I asked neither one to do the roofing, because I want to do that separate. And so it's actually $11,413 minus the roofing. And I talked to Tim, and he did not put the roofing in, obviously. But they're both basically the same. I told him the same thing, and that's basically build the building and with all the materials off the quote, and then we'll get a roofer later, put out a bid for roofing.
That's right.
Brady, you and I talked earlier, but,
Sure.
so when I did the math on the hammer and nail with the parts, whatever you call it, materials from ProBuild, I got a total of $12,813.08. And you said how much?
Well, it's minus the felt, so on page,
Oh, no felt either.
so I minus the felt, and then I minus the,
Oh, it's
because there's
felt.
different felt for the, there's felt for the roofing,
Got
and then the estate grade roofing itself, and then,
Okay.
and then that's the cap, the cap bundle is 9150s for the cap.
Okay, so it would be 11 what now?
I came up with, $1,390
Off of the.
off of the total of 7,823.
So it would be a total of 11,300 or something?
Yeah, I got 11,413.
11,413, okay. Now that doesn't include anything for the roof, right?
No.
But does, I guess I was still confused. Does the 15,275 include roof?
No.
No.
I said
So
I
he
do not
is-
want roofing on any unit.
So he is considerably higher.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I
But the it's good quality, that we're gonna be, you know, I'm gonna do the fellow here, Hammer Nail, he did, has done work for the city past, so has been under construction, they did at City Hall, they did a wonderful job, they're very, very good. So, but I didn't get any other proposal, the folks are busy right now, I didn't really get anything back, we need to move forward, so.
So we need a motion for this, correct?
Yes, actually, you bet.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we accept the bid from Hammer and Nail Construction for the work that needs to be done.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Call, please.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment, is that, I've had the same problem as Brady with finding available contractors. So, I'm sure he's accurate in, not that I doubt Brady anyway, in saying that he had a hard time finding proposals, so that's it.
And do we need to put a dollar amount on the motion or no?
Yeah, we should, I mean, it's, yeah.
So,
Okay, well, I'll amend the motion to, I'm very bad at math, so I will amend the motion to accept the dollar amount that was voted by Councilmember Camino.
Instead of 11,413, or we can go 11,5.
Exactly.
I'll second that.
Call, please.
Okay, I wanna make sure I have the motion correct.
11-5.
So we're gonna accept the proposal from Hammer and Nail for $11,500.
That includes all the materials and labor to the garage done, other than the roof.
except the roof.
Okay. Wyatt,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Matala,
Yes.
Gambino,
Yes.
Grant,
All right.
Fisher Brown.
Yes.
We have correspondence, Emma. I think we got a couple of them there.
I have a letter that was received from a water customer who had a problem with a leak, and they're requesting a credit on their account. And our water sewer clerk gave some history on the situation, and it's presented here for the council's consideration, whether or not they want to do anything for these folks.
I spoke to Carla yesterday about this, and she had said it was common practice for City Hall to, in this kind of circumstance, give it a rebate, a discount on the sewer bill only, not the water bill. And what Carla had said to me is that normally the amount that Mr. and Mrs. de Blasi are requesting normally would only be half of that amount, is what Carl had said to me yesterday.
Right. So the 6252 is actually what hit the ground that had a faucet. So if you have a leak that ends up on the ground, then it doesn't go into the sewer. Like if you have a leaky toilet, say my toilet foot, but it's still going in the sewer. So that's really a, hard one to be credit. But when a faucet is running, they're actually use of the water. But I talked to one of my crewmen, and he said he'd been out there several times and did courtesy